Hello America. We are anonymous. The issues facing the American population today are at an all-time high. Two-thirds of Americans continue to be dissatisfied with the direction of the country. This is the result of government mismanagement and bad business practices, such as the collapse of the housing market and wasteful spending year after year. The Federal Reserve decided to double down on these policies by spending billions of dollars a month to buy up mortgage-backed securities. In other words, this is an attempt to reinflate the bubble that already burst and could cause another collapse of similar proportions in the near future. The dollar today is worth 4 cents compared to what the Federal Reserve started with in 1913. To put it another way, what you could have bought with $1 in 1913 would cost you $22.41 today. This path is absolutely unsustainable. How can the printing of worthless pieces of paper make the country richer? If that were the case, there would be no such thing as poverty in the United States, but, since central banks around the world control the flow of currency and attach interest to every dollar it lends out, most countries, especially the United States, spend more on paying back the interest than paying down the principal debt. This contributes to an ever-increasing national debt which gets passed on to future generations to pay. Just to put that into perspective, the American government has borrowed so much in the past 30 years, they have created unfunded liabilities. They have dug a financial hole so deep that it would take $65 trillion just to break even. That is more than the entire gross domestic product for the entire planet. Parts of the United States Constitution must be amended and continue to be amended every 20 years. This will allow for future generations to control how the government deals with current policies voted on by the people. There is simply no issue more pressing in our time than restoring the principles held by our founding fathers and getting back to the Constitution. The fact that we have come so far away from these principles is the number one detriment to our society, and likely the cause of most if not all of the problems we are facing today. As the legitimacy of government is granted by the people, constitutionalism demands that government power be limited and the people be free. This is the only practical path to liberty and prosperity. It's time to rise up. It's time to put a fucking end to the misery which the elite has put us through. It's time to storm the castle. It's time to demand accountability for our government's criminal actions. While so many Americans are out of work, on food stamps and can barely pay their rent, the United States government is spending your tax dollars on things like pouring millions into a wearable weapon it calls the Tactical Assault Light Operator Suit, or TALOS, otherwise known as the Iron Man suit. Each one of these armored-plated suits cost close to $80 million to develop. Not to mention the failure of the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter. The F-35 has been riddled with flaws since its conception, and will roll out production of this impractical aircraft to countries stupid enough to purchase it by 2019. The Department of Defense plans to buy 2,457 of the planes between now and 2037, at a total cost of more than $1 trillion. This including development and maintenance costs, which are skyrocketing out of control due to concurrent development. Concurrent development is a term used by companies such as Lockheed Martin, who sell the aircraft while it's still untested and in the developmental stages. By the time the U.S. government realized that the aircraft was a complete disaster, it was too late. It had already bought hundreds of F-35s and was now committed to arm its entire military and naval fleets with these costly war machines. The DoD purchased $16 billion worth of ammunition that it didn't actually need, and spent $1 billion of your tax dollars to destroy it. Much of the ammo became obsolete, unusable, or its use is now banned under international treaties. The amount of all the ammo destroyed would pay the annual salaries of 54,000 lieutenants in the U.S. Army. The Department of Defense made an overpayment in 2014 of $9 million for 35 helicopter replacement parts. That works out to be $8,000 for each part that was supposed to cost $500. FEMA has spent more than $18 million rebuilding public golf courses damaged by storms. Federal workers accused of wrongdoing or misconduct were placed on paid leave for sometimes months, even years at a time, while auditors investigated their cases. Some, including one EPA employee, who was caught watching massive amounts of porn at work, are still on leave, and currently collecting a federal paycheck. The Customs and Border Patrol spent millions of dollars on luxury homes for temporary Border Patrol agents. U.S. Customs and Border Protection, which has spent at least $17 million on a housing project in Idaho, Arizona, including blatantly overpaying hundreds of thousands of dollars for standard houses while dishing out millions on unused mobile homes. Those are just a few examples of wasteful spending from some of the top departments of the U.S. government. Washington has 73 separate agencies to monitor and expose government waste and mismanagement of our tax dollars, and not one of them can curb government spending. In fact, it has just gotten worse over the years. We need to wake up and demand real change, with real laws. Laws that benefit the average American, and not the multinational corporations, who, every year, lobby members of Congress into changing the laws to benefit them. The reset button must be pressed, and you must be the one to press it. Anonymous will continue to make videos that expose government corruption and corporate greed. Anonymous will continue to fight with the American people. You are not alone. Anonymous will continue to fight for all who are sick and tired of the zero accountability by our elected officials, and who want the top 1% to pay for their crimes against the average American citizen. We are Anonymous. We are Legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.